Did you have a plan for how you wanted to go about this?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I just figured we'd shake it up a little bit.
Oh, good.
And
I love finding that out now
yeah, I
without any
know.
prep time.
Yep, I know. And that's what's going to make it very interesting, I think. What's up, everyone? Thomas here with ForReel Movie News and Reviews. And today I have Taylor Baker from Drinking the Movies on the line so that we can discuss Sundance, which I'm super excited about. Taylor, thanks for waking up at the butt crack at 10:30 to be
Thank
here.
you for having me. Thank you for forcing me to roll out of bed far earlier than I would choose to on a Saturday.
Yes. What a journey just this whole pre-Sundance thing has been. I remember a couple months ago when we were talking about, hey, can we put a trip together to actually go to Sundance?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good thing that didn't work out.
Yes, it is. You're once again taking credit for ruining a fun plan and then having that plan not work out anyways.
Yes. Yes, I am taking that credit. Thank you.
But for any unaware, it was originally in person and online, and now it's only online because of something called COVID,
that thing that
did I miss this?
Yeah, no, it's just that little thing that we've only been dealing with for a little 2-year period so far. Yeah, so I think we all understand the why the decision was made, and I'm sure it was a very, very tough decision to make, maybe even a very costly decision that Sundance made to move the whole thing to online only. But we understand it, and I respect that decision, and hoping that everyone out there is staying safe and healthy.
However, I do want to go back to our original schedule, which fit my lifestyle a lot easier.
I know. Okay, so after the doomed trip to Park City didn't work out, then we got a schedule and we scheduled everything out.
Oh, we spent hours tabulating, Excel sheeting.
Oh man, like
making copies of Thomas's schedule and then deleting most of the data and then putting in my data. Yeah. So he spent days, I spent hours. Yeah, it was great.
That's exactly what happened, right? Just to have to redo that process.
I did not. I just said nope. Not because they're just going to change the dates and times again in the movies. I'm not doing it again.
This is, what, Sundance is a very robust exercise in spreadsheeting. This is just
the futility of spreadsheeting. It's a future film for Thomas.
It will debut at Sundance 2025. Just wait. So a couple of the basic things to know about Sundance. The festival is running, as we said, completely online from January 20th to January 30th, so 10 days. And
as of right now, there's still tons of individual tickets available to be purchased.
Yes. So take advantage of that, because there's a lot of really promising movies and storytelling experiences that are premiering and that are screening at Sundance. So,
and honestly, $20 for a ticket isn't that bad. I remember some of the New York Film Festival stuff being like $50, $75 for some of those premiere access. And if you're anywhere in the US, you can just buy a ticket to watch something for $20. And I don't know if After Yang is still on that list, but I would pay a lot more than $20 to watch After Yang.
You have been very, very excited about After Yang, and we are likely going to talk more about that later on. So as press, we got 25 tickets. It's 10 premieres, 15 second screenings, and I think you said you have reserved all 25 of your tickets already, right?
I have reserved all but one second screening, which I already know what I want to use it for, but I'm waiting. Practicing not pursuing a ticket before I hear what other films, how good they are. And then I've got 2 premieres left for awards considerations, I was hoping, as you're aware, that
Mhm.
Kimmy would become one of the bowing titles that shows up at the festival, but it does not appear that that's going to be what happens. So I'm going to probably start using those premiere tickets on
Mhm.
other things, because I don't suspect that I'm going to be too interested in the awards fair
Or
this year.
maybe you will have already seen most of what goes up for awards. So
That's hopefully what I'm
fingers
strategizing
crossed.
toward.
Yeah, so I've been trying to, one of the things that I'm practicing 2022, one of my, I guess we're going to call it a resolution or a goal or whatever. One of the things that I'm trying to get better
Something
at,
to fail at.
something to fail at, which is entirely likely. We're going to see how this goes, but I'm trying to be more mindful about not overcommitting myself and not
Mm,
doing way too much, because
I
2021,
don't know what that would be like. I
yeah,
can't imagine.
so 2020 and 2021 were the years of me doing way too much. It was fun in the moment, but it took quite the toll.
Mhm.
So, having learned some lessons over the past couple of years, I've booked 7 of my premieres and 12 of my second screenings,
We're
which,
pretty close. I've
yeah,
only
yeah.
booked 3 more movies than you.
I get it. That's one way of looking at it. But I am interested in seeing what goes up for awards and reserving those tickets for that. And I'm still on the fence on whether I want to use those last second screening tickets, because my schedule, after calibrating and then recalibrating my schedule, the one constant that was true both times is that there's not enough time in my life. and so I'm gonna see about
Yeah,
what
picking the
I can
second
fit in.
screenings from the Monday
Hmm.
premieres is like necessary so
Yeah.
that you can have those totally empty days of premieres to watch those second screenings.
Hmm.
So I definitely built backwards, because the crunch of Friday through Sunday is going to
Great.
be massive. And then
Massive.
Monday
Yeah.
through Wednesday will hopefully be a little bit lighter. Obviously, Monday is going to have the most
Hmm.
titles that you have to try to cram. But then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that's going to be a lot lighter.
Yeah, so my schedule is going to be very Saturday, Sunday heavy, because I'm actually not taking time off work for this. So it will be interesting to doing 6, 7 movie days on Saturday and Sunday, which is fine on the weekend. But yeah, and on top of that, I have some interviews that I want to get published, throughout the festival, and so it's going to be a very interesting thing.
Yeah, exercise and creating more time.
Exercising, you know what? That's a skill I should have learned in college. If they had a degree for how to make more time, that would be a really
Mhm.
great thing for me to do.
Mastery of working from bed.
Yes, yes, yes. Actually, if I could just get that little time thing that Hermione had in Prisoner of Azkaban,
The time
that's what.
turner.
Yeah, that's what I really need. Look, if anyone wants to get me a birthday or a Christmas gift, find me one of those. So I kind of talked to you about this a little bit before the show, but I wanted to switch things up a little and try,
Yeah.
try a little different format this time. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna go through the Sundance lineup by program and
Hmm.
make and I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to do this myself, uh try to choose our most anticipated film by program, because as we know, with this ticketing process, Sundance is about making clutch choices, and so I'm just dialing that stress up a little bit, and seeing if we can pull our one favorite or one most anticipated film out of each program, and we'll
Hmm.
probably talk about other things along the way. But yeah,
Well, I
it's
think we've
gonna
both
be
had a
fun.
chance to see some stuff, and you've
Hmm.
got some interviews that you're planning. So as we work
Hmm.
through, we'll just talk about that stuff, as well as the what we perceive to be most promising title in each of these selection groups, categories.
Yeah,
What is the official terminology from them?
categories,
Category.
categories,
Okay.
programs. Yeah. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. We're going to start with US dramatic competition. um Taylor, what is your
You want
number
to take a
one?
guess?
I, hold on, let me look through it really quick. uh ooh I have a guess, but I'm gonna hold off and just let you say it.
That's not a guess. I asked you if you have a
No,
guess.
I
Make
think
your
you're
guess.
my guess is probably Cha Cha Real Smooth.
That's correct.
So
the
good.
Dakota Johnson film from Cooper. Gosh, I'm forgetting his last name, but he made Shithouse, which I think I watched in 2020 as part of like the San Diego Film Festival. And I really had a great time. It was him and Dylan Galula, who's incredibly charming and effusive. And Dakota Johnson, I think, is a great fit for that comedic styling that I saw in Shithouse. So Cha Cha Real Smooth is definitely my favorite out of these selections of what's available in that dramatic competition. How about you?
Yeah, so Cha Cha Real Smooth from Cooper Rafe, I think is how you pronounce his name.
That's what I thought, but then I was like, maybe that's a different director.
Yeah, no. You mentioned Cha Cha Real Smooth, and I looked into it, and I'm like, that actually looks pretty interesting. And so I do have high hopes for that one.
But you're going to talk about Duel now.
Oh, is it that obvious? Yes, I'm going to talk about Duel. Duel from director Riley Stearns, who directed one of my favorite films from the film festival circuit a couple of years ago, The Art of Self-Defense. Was a big fan of that movie. And the movie also stars Aaron Paul, who a lot of people probably know from Breaking Bad, and Karen Gillan, who Gillan. Sorry, Jumanji. Nebula Jumanji movies. So yeah, interesting cast, interesting director, and I can't wait to see what he does with this story. And yeah, I think it'll be interesting, I guess. I love the names attached to this, so yes, I can't wait. Is there anything else that stands out to you here in this US dramatic competition category?
Yeah, it's probably the most dense. I don't like Riley Stearns particularly, but I do find myself curious to see how he's evolving as an artist. Just because I don't respond to it doesn't mean that he's not doing art that's worth engaging with. It's just not really something that speaks to me. I still like catching up with it. So I do have a ticket for Duel. Other titles that I'm looking forward to potentially are Master and Watcher. And then I've got tickets for Alice and Palm Trees and Power Lines, which I'm hopeful for, but I'm not overly counting on. And then I don't expect anything good out of 892, but I'm booked for it because I got to see what Boyega's trying to do next with his production company.
Yeah. And I think like I kind of second all of that. This is a dense category. Like everything in this category I was very interested in and very excited about, and very a little disgruntled that my ticket selection is limited. So it was
there's so many directorial debuts here from really promising filmmakers.
Right.
Got Mariama Diallo, who's directing Master. She's got great buzz about her short film Hairwolf from 2018. Jamie Dack is the director of Palm Trees and Power Lines based on her previous short film. You got Mimi Cave making Fresh, who's made a bunch of different short films over the years. So there's these great directorial debuts from female filmmakers just cluttering this category.
The one wild card for me in this, and I'm actually still thinking on it, I have not made a decision on this yet, is whether I want to see Blood. I think the premise is interesting, but kind of looking at the history with the director, he's a little hit or miss with his movies sometimes, and so I'm hopeful for it, and I'm trying to figure out, like, is this one I can make time for? Like, I want to see it, but with scheduling and trying to allocate time, it's a 111-minute runtime. So I mean, not the longest thing ever, but still need to decide if I can fit it into the schedule. So
yeah, he's got an up and down, mixed at best type of a career so far, but you never know when that career turns around or when that one great project that a filmmaker creates comes out. But
right, and that's kind of what I'm holding on. That's like the hope that I'm holding on to. Like, I wonder if this is going to be that project, if this is going to be the one that ends up surprising everyone, and it turns out to be really good. So yeah, so that's what I'm still thinking about. Yeah, and I think you mentioned most of the other ones. So
I did mention most of the other ones because there's a lot that I want to watch in this category.
Yes. moving on to U.S. documentary competition.
Mhm.
And what in this category stands out to you? What are you most excited for here?
I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I don't have a single ticket reserved for any of these movies. If I was gonna pick one though, it
Mm-hmm.
would be Fire of Love, the
Mm-hmm.
documentary about the couple who, if I'm remembering correctly, because I know them from Werner Herzog, who collaborated with these volcanologists as a filmmaker. They were like a team of volcanologists, and they went around the world studying volcanoes, and they died tragically from being too close to a volcanic eruption.
Mm-hmm.
But they'd spent decades, as a married couple who worked together. And I think that whatever documentary is about volcanoes and a decades long romance sounds pretty pleasing to watch to me,
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of a film festival. If we're able to get screeners for it, I would certainly make time for it. It's just this is not one of the categories that stuck out as a place to spend my very limited ticket amounts this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the, kind of like we mentioned in the last category, that's the struggle, right? There's a lot to choose from, and you want to get to a lot, but when we have limited time and limited ticket availability, you kind of have to choose wisely and or choose carefully, I guess. I
Yes.
will kind of echo what you're saying here. I think there's a lot of interesting subject matters here. But this was a category where I didn't I don't think I reserved any tickets in this one either. But there was a movie that I did consider getting a ticket for, and hope that it shows up at other film festivals coming up, and that's Free Chosuli. Um, I really like those stories that examine whether someone was actually guilty. I kind of think about like that first season of Serial, and going through the evidence and having witnesses and testimony and like trying to figure it out. Right, there's a mystery component to it, and I don't know if that's exactly what this is, but there's definitely that component of like, this guy was considered guilty off of flimsy evidence. Let's try to retrospectively piece together what actually happened.
If it's really high quality investigative journalism, then yes.
Mhm.
My concern is that most of these are always trial propaganda, and
Mm,
it normally always ties with a hearing to see if there's going to be reduced sentence or early
mhm,
release. And in 83 minutes, I don't think you're going to get an incredibly high level of journalistic integrity examining the various details of this.
mhm,
It to me just I I think that most documentaries nowadays are PR promotional pieces.
interesting.
They're very, very affordable promotional pieces. You don't need to hire a cast. You just need to hire a
Mhm,
director and a sound crew and an editor, and you can turn out a PR piece. And I'm
mhm,
worried that that's what this is. I'm totally willing to change my mind.
mhm,
This has the stink to me of another trial piece.
mhm. Yeah, and it'll. I mean, we never know until it comes out and we see it, and that's possible. Maybe it's good. We'll see. I mean, the other one that I was considering and that I actually still would like to watch is probably TikTok Boom. As a marketer, it's relevant for me. But I guess I'm interested in what uh, if you're going to analyze TikTok, and there's a lot to analyze with TikTok. I think that the TikTok platform is in a way both evolving and revolutionizing how people use social media.
Mhm.
And I mean, I having learned TikTok more recently than most, it's such an interesting platform to see how people are becoming video producers in a way, right? Like there is some really high production quality stuff on there that TikTok is now making accessible to everyone. And so I really hope that it's able to dive into that topic and cover what TikTok, like the effect of TikTok on society. Um,
And also like the terrible part of it, which is
and
like
it's
it examines every single thing you do on your phone and
yes,
times its notifications to try to manipulate you the most. It's the
oh yeah,
one of the only apps ever where you have to try to exit the app twice in order to be able to actually exit the app. It's a disgusting piece of technology, if you ask
yeah.
me. But
I think that yeah.
yeah, the filmmaker is Shalini Kantaya, if I remember
Hmm.
correctly, and she did Coded Bias.
Hmm.
if not last year, then the year before, and I just disliked that film greatly. So I mean, I'll try TikTok Boom out at some point, undoubtedly, as 2022 progresses at different film festivals. But I'm not prioritizing it at Sundance.
That's fair. Yep. Cool. Moving on to World Dramatic Competition. What are you thinking here? What's your most anticipated one?
So there's a lot of different movies in this category that I'm intrigued by, but there's only one that I reserved a ticket for. You want to take a guess?
Is it? I mean, I know the one that I reserved a ticket for is You Won't Be Alone.
The Noomi Rapace film, You Won't Be Alone. Sounds like we're simpatico on this.
Yeah.
I recently did a very small amount of digging, I will say. And that small amount of digging had me a little bit intrigued by the fact that while she is the cover art of the film on Letterboxd and doing general Google searches, she's actually not listed on the poster or in most websites as the primary actress or actor. She's the and. She's regarded as the Meryl Streep ad on at the end, and Noomi Rapace. There's Sarah Klamoska and the Maria Marinchka, Alice Englert. There's lots of other performers listed above. So I'm not too certain exactly how this is going to play out. But I'm very excited to see Noomi in something that's a little bit harrowing.
Yeah, it will be I guess I didn't do that much as much digging into it as you did, but that's a very interesting observation. I'm happy to see marketing playing their best cards on this one. So but it does look interesting. I mean, it already has distribution slated, and so that's a really positive sign for the quality of the film and the confidence in this film. And that was a big selling point on me getting on board with this one. So,
and it's another directorial debut from another short filmmaker. It's a good time to get a head start on all those directorial debuts of the year.
Yeah, I think that was the main one that stood out to me too. So I really don't have a whole lot to say on.
Additionally, I think that the Cow Who Sang a Song into the Future looks pretty interesting. I may use one of my leftover tickets to attend either the premiere or do a second screening of that. And then Girl Picture is a film that I'm really excited to spend some time with. I was able to receive a screener for that title, and I'm going to be watching it and reviewing it here before the festival gets started so that I can put that out once their embargo lifts. But that's a title that I was excited to reserve a ticket for, even if they didn't have access. So those are the other two in this category that I would steer people towards.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I'm kind of drawn to movies with really long titles. The Cow Who Sang a Song into the Future. I mean, what is that? What is that about? Like, tell me more. That's so fascinating.
The fish are dying from pollution in a river in South Chile that's near a cellulose factory, and amid their floating bodies, a long deceased Magdalena bubbles up to the surface, gasping for air, bringing with her old wounds and a wave of family secrets. Intriguing.
Movies with long titles. There's something to it. So I'll consider that one. That's it's on my radar. World Cinema Documentary Competition. How about this one?
I almost want to have you guess, but I'm pretty sure that you wouldn't have a clue.
No, I don't actually.
No? Okay. So there's a few titles in here that I've seen. One of which is Tentura. And honestly, that looking at all these titles in small resolution detail, I think that Tentura is probably the best film I will see out of these selections, and the one that I was the most interested in. I've also seen Nothing Compares about Sinead O'Connor, and The Mission, which is about some young Mormon or Jehovah's. No, they're Mormon, Church of Latter-day Saints going to Europe and proselytizing. Neither of those documentaries were particularly engaging, but Tentura is this examination of what happened in 1948 when Israel was made a state, and the mass killings that happened from Israeli soldiers and the massacres against their neighbors as they built that nation out. And it's really sincere and emotional and familial, and it's the type of filmmaking that you really don't see come out very often. So that's the one that I would recommend out of this.
Yeah, that sounds good. It's definitely, I think you may have mentioned that one to me before, and I'm kind of eyeing it, but I think the one that I've actually been pursuing most in this, and you might disagree, but the one I've been pursuing most is We Met in Virtual Reality, from Joe Hunting, directorial debut, I think. He's actually really more in the VR sphere, which is obviously where the subject matter comes from. And VR is something that I'm increasingly intrigued by. Like I've had a VR set before. I actually just recently got the Oculus 2 so that I could participate with New Frontier projects at Sundance, and I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, this kind of emerging medium, I think is something that I'm slowly getting more engaged with and more active about, like learning about. So Sundance is kind of this really nice hub to do that, because you have the New Frontier segment of the festival, and then this movie from a VR industry guy who is going to examine. I think this movie examines the role of VR during the pandemic, and people that met through VR. Which
it sounds to me like in 2013 making a documentary about Tinder.
Yeah, yeah. Which
that sounded like a good idea, but now no one gives a shit. And I think that's exactly what this is.
I don't know. Like, I think that this all kind of goes into like, and who knows, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I think that it's the subject matter that I'm very interested in, and kind of how it's approached. And you also really, I don't argue.
So you're interested in how people are becoming couples through virtual reality?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
that just is not something that I'm interested in at all. But okay.
I met my husband on through a dating app, right? Like, it's very interesting.
And would you like to watch a documentary about that dating app?
Look, I tell that story all the time. Okay.
Telling the story over drinks and watching a 90-minute film are two very different things.
We will see. But I guess I'm kind of coupling all that together between my virtual reality experience with New Frontier and this virtual reality movie. I think there's a nugget of like of interesting experiences, conclusions, observations that I can make on VR. So it's just kind of a full package. I mean, kind of thing.
It's interesting technology. I don't think that this is the examination of the tech that is going to speak to me, at least.
Yeah. We will see. I lost my place.
We're moving on to next.
Next is next. What are you most excited for here?
Well, I'd be most excited to understand what next means, I think, because that's not at all clear to me with these various titles. Some of which are documentaries, some of which are, dramatic feature films, from what I can tell. Mm-hmm. I know A Love Song is a dramatic feature film, and I'm assuming Something in the Dirt, which is going to be your selection, is a dramatic feature film. But I'm not too sure exactly what this means. But in next, my most anticipated film is also a film that I've had the fortune of already seeing. That's Riotsville, USA, which is a essay documentary about constructing false towns to practice riot drills in, and a look at who the decision makers were in the 1960s, and how money was spent and how communication was put out about riots and how to address them. It's a really interesting documentary that reminds me a little bit of All Light Everywhere. It really uses film as an essay, like a collage, to tell a multifaceted story and address the history of racism in a really passive way that is just absolutely inarguable. That is really refreshing when compared to a lot of the other documentaries I've seen in the last year. I think that last year I saw over 120 documentaries or something, and only 10 of those were good. And, to already see one great documentary here only 2 weeks into 2022 it's great.
You told me a little bit about this earlier, and it's now moved more prominently onto my radar, because I have to remember that I'm more drawn to narrative film, which it doesn't say I dislike documentaries, but that's just kind of what I'm drawn to, and what captures my attention the easiest.
Especially at film festivals,
right? But I also have to remember that my favorite film of last year was a documentary from Sundance.
So. And then what many would say is, an experimental documentary format where it's animated and then talked over. So one last thing that I'll mention is that the film is directed by Sierra Pettengill, and she co-directed The Reagan Show, which had a lot of positive reaction to it, or at least, reaction and awareness back in 2017. So if you're familiar with The Reagan Show and looking for, what that filmmaker is doing next, the next thing is Riotsville, and it's really damn good.
Nice. I'm thinking more on that one. I did just Google really quick, and I don't know if they define the next category, but I see this description of Next Fest from Sundance, which says it showcases stylistically adventurous and bold films.
I'll take it.
Yep.
Okay.
That's what next means at Sundance.
So why don't you tell me why Something in the Dirt is the best film that hasn't come out yet this year?
I mean, Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson, like, need I say more? Look, I don't know a whole lot about
Please
this.
do. You lost me.
Oh man, that's unfortunate. I don't know a whole lot about this film, but those are two names that I pay a lot of attention to.
And why is that? What have they made?
So their style as sci-fi is so I don't know, it has this this indie quality, while also delivering very captivating stories in a way. Like, I don't know how to explain it. There's just this like mood I get. Obviously the Spring, The Endless, and oh man, I'm spacing on their newest one.
Synchronic.
Yeah. So I like their style, and I like how it's sci-fi, kind of horror storytelling, but not with the tone that comes with a lot of mainstream. It's very their brand. They have a brand here, and I think that what they do with it is very captivating in their stories, and I'm very interested in seeing what that looks like here. So
yeah, it's interesting that they're both listed as the only cast members in a 2-hour film. I'm curious to see exactly how they pull this off.
And that actually, I mean, that interests me even more. I have this thing where I love when filmmakers and writers and directors do more with less, like smaller casts. If you can pull it off, I'm all about it, because that's you take away kind of a lot of the things that can distract from quality storytelling, and just kind of hone in on the character development of the things, or hone in on the things that are present, right? In this case, hopefully a whole lot of character development if there's only 2 people for 2 hours.
Yes, well, one hopes. If you'll let me, the one other title that I'm really intrigued by here in the next category is the directorial debut, A Love Song, from Max Walker Silverman. It stars Dale Dickey, who everybody has seen in something at this point, alongside Wes Studi. But just in case you don't know who Dale Dickey is, she's acted in Hell or High Water, Super 8, Winter's Bone, Changeling, Leave No Trace, Iron Man, Palm Springs, Domino. Like, she's just been in everything from everyone all the time. And this appears to be a film that really centers her as its central figure. And she has such a unique face and such a great screen presence that I'm excited to see how this romantic story at a very brief 81 minutes is pulled off. I'm assuming that Wes Studi is the other romantic interest. And basically it's two childhood sweethearts that both get widowed, sync up, and have a night together. And that just sounds so stage like. And I think that both these actors could really win me over with perhaps like best performance at Sundance Film Festival in this film. So that's the one that I'm secondarily most excited for.
Yeah, good for pointing that one out. It's on my radar. I'm going to see if I have time for it.
Make time.
Make time. Right. I'm excited about this next category. Let's talk about Midnight.
Midnight indeed. Do you want to hazard a guess? This one might be a little bit easier for you to make an attempt at.
Oh. This one is much easier. I'm pretty sure you're going to go with Fresh on this one.
That is correct. I am going to go with Mimi Cave's directorial debut, Fresh, which stars normal people's Daisy Edgar Jones alongside the Winter Soldier himself, Sebastian Stan.
I guess I don't know a whole lot about this film because it got picked up by Disney.
It got picked up by Hulu in America, and then Disney Plus is doing distribution months after, or a month after, worldwide. But I don't know that it's actually through Disney Plus or if it's through something called Star, that is part of Disney. Disney is just so big. I mean, they have the rights to distribute it digitally. I just don't know exactly which platform that is. But yes, it is certainly confusing exactly what Fresh is, and I am not at all confident in that. But Daisy Edgar Jones really swept me away in Normal People, and I just want to see whatever she does next at this point.
Yeah, I agree. The cast really caught my attention on this one. And I guess I know the synopsis, but how did Disney end up with this film?
Maybe it's a lot more meet cute than creepy stalker.
Maybe. I guess.
I don't know why it would be in Midnight if that was true.
Yeah. This is a very like Disney picking this movie up only made me
the
more
fact
curious.
It's on Hulu makes me think that it's more adult, because I think that Disney Plus is a lot more kid oriented here in America than maybe it is abroad. I haven't studied exactly what that distribution looks like, but I'd be interested to know those differences, and if there is something like Star or whatever. I was reading in that article about how Disney Plus will own the rights and then distribute it to these different platforms.
Yeah. I was already curious about it, but then Disney got distribution rights, and I'm like, okay, now I'm even more curious. Like, what is this movie?
I hope it's good. That's what I'll say.
I hope it's good too. So was there anything else you want to say? I kind of cut you off because I'm
not on Fresh. I mean,
Great.
I think it's gonna be good. I hope that it's good. I think Daisy Edgar Jones is gonna be great, and I want to watch the movie. What is your selection in Midnight, sir?
You know what? The one that I am actually looking forward to most is Speak No Evil. From director.
That was going to be my honorable mention. So
from director, I hope I pronounced his name right. Director Christian Taftrope. I'm gonna have to double check that. I'm hoping to get an interview with him. I think that'd be really cool. But
that sounds right to me. I just Googled it. Sounds right. I mean, he's gosh, where is he from? Denmark. So you definitely said it wrong, but I don't know if you said it wrong for an English speaker.
I see. Fair enough. I will get that clarified before I talk to him. But I think that this one, I like the premise. And it seems to be like more of that traditional horror kind of film, something that my husband can really enjoy. You know, I subject him to these movies at Sundance, like, I don't know, Hatching, and tell him, hey, it's a horror film, and he watches it and is not scared but mortified. And so I'm excited to be able to offer him a selection that will actually kind of be up his alley. And I think that this will have a lot of mainstream appeal, or at least I'm hoping it does, as far as being a genre horror film.
What was the New Zealand film that played last year?
Coming Home in the Dark.
That's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
hoping and thinking this might be, like a more conventional,
Mm-hmm.
surprisingly great horror film.
I mean, every time I think about it, that's kind of what I like mentally compare it to.
Mhm.
That just it
Which
seems.
is unfair to a lot of movies
I
because that's
know.
so good.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. But I actually locked down a ticket for Babysitter as well. That one seemed kind of interesting. Piggy was on my short list. And I'm curious about Hatching. Although
I am curious about Hatching as well. I don't think I want to watch it though.
yeah, I mean, my biggest problem with Hatching, unfortunately, is that I watched the trailer and because Hatching has distribution and a release date actually,
Mhm.
and I feel like the trailer gives too much away. Unfortunately, it pretty much outlines the like plot points of the film all the way up to a big reveal, I guess, and
Well, I do respect that because the plot points didn't interest me at all. And you know, at least I didn't have to watch the movie to find out I don't respond to
yeah.
its storytelling styling.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean that's been my, if I hadn't watched the trailer, I might have gotten a ticket to it. But I think, and it's not even that the trailer turned me off of the film. I still think it's interesting. I just wish the trailer hadn't given so much. And this is why I like going to festivals, because I can see things before marketing and trailers kind of spoil it.
Mhm.
And well, this one kind of spoiled it. So okay.
Yeah,
um
I will second the babysitter though. Does look
yeah.
pretty interesting. I'm considering spending a ticket on that myself.
Mhm. Well, let's move on to Spotlight, where you got one movie that you want to talk about.
That is correct. This is actually called the World Cinema Dramatic Winner after Yang category. And the most anticipated title I have is A24's After Yang from
Shocking.
Kogonada, starring Colin Farrell, Jodie Turner-Smith, who, gosh, what was the name of the film that she was in with Daniel Kaluuya? Queen and Slim. She was
Mm-hmm.
the queen on Queen and Slim, and then Haley Lou Richardson returning with Kogonada after Columbus, which they previously shot together. This is a science fiction film. It's not only written and directed, but also edited by Kogonada. And I'm just excited that I get to watch it. I've been anticipating this movie since 2019 or 2020, and I finally get to watch it now in 2022. And I look forward to it being my favorite film of the festival.
Yeah. I'm excited for this film because you're excited for this film.
Good. I'm glad my
y-
effusiveness is working.
yes, you were very active about really being excited for this film, and that couldn't, I couldn't help but maybe latch on to that. It sounds, I mean, it sounds like a great film, and or at least a great story, interesting premise. I don't know a whole lot about it, but you're excited, so I'm excited, and other things in this category
Have you
that
seen Columbus?
I've not.
Oh, you got to go back and watch Columbus. That's a
That's my
must.
homework this week.
You
Go
like
watch
John
Columbus.
Cho, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so go watch this. You're gonna
Okay,
love it. It's
fair
amazing.
enough. I will say the other one that stands out in this category that I have not seen but probably should have by now because it played at like every film festival is
Is the
probably
worst person in the
the
world,
worst person in the world.
which is a great movie.
Yes, and so I'm looking forward. I will be covering that one for Sundance, and so I'm looking forward to finally seeing it after like everyone else has seen it.
Yes. So I guess technically the worst person in the world might end up being a better movie than After Yang.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone's kind of already seen it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I didn't even consider it, because I'd already seen it. Like, it's not in my 2022 brain, it's in 2021.
Right.
It's up for Oscars in 2021. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's but it's a wonderful film. And if anyone hasn't seen it and you can get a $20 ticket to it,
Mm-hmm.
please do. It's beautiful. And Renata Reinsev, or however you pronounce her name, gives one of the best performances by an actress in the last year. It's a great film and everybody should see it.
Yep. Okay, these next two categories we're just going to skim through really quickly because there's not a whole lot to choose from. Let's talk really quickly about this Mysterious Kids category that we're both a little confused
I
about?
would love to. So I was presented with the fact that we're not talking about our most anticipated films. We're talking about all categories
Okay.
right before we started recording. And that gave me about 1 second to compare the two films, which are called Micah or Summer Rain, and make my choice because I was unaware of either of these. My choice, even though I'm probably not going to see it, is going to be James Ponsolt's film Summer Rain. He made The End of the Tour, The Spectacular Now, The Circle with Emma Watson and Tom Hanks. He made Smashed back in 2012 with Aaron Paul, who you talked about in Duel alongside Mary Elizabeth Winstead. He's a filmmaker that I've cursorily seen most of the films of. And if I was going to watch either of these, I would definitely lean towards the one that I know I like the filmic language of, even if the stories are a little bit average or reduced, just not too enticing, and the language never gets super expressive, but they're generally fun, high quality watches, or good quality, I should say.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna second that choice. I guess we only have two to choose from. I'm gonna second that choice for a lot of the same reasons that you are. I also was captivated by the fact that it was acquired by Bleecker Street, and that appeals to me. I think they put out pretty good movies, and so yeah, for all the reasons that you said and the Bleecker Street distribution. I don't know a whole lot about Micah. Maybe I will at some point. But yeah, anyway, so there's that. And then the other category that we'll skim through really quickly is special screenings.
Mm-hmm.
There are, I guess, 4 special screenings, but we'll one of them is
Oh, we're skipping to the end. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I see what I did there,
huh Yeah, throwing a real wrench in my plans here.
Yes. So special screenings, the 3 that are new movies, at least, are Last Flight Home, The American Dream, and Other Fairy Tales, which was a late entry, or at least a lately announced entry,
Mm-hmm.
as well as Phoenix Rising. What are you
Yes.
thinking?
And then the other title is The Incredibly True Story of Two Girls in Love from 1995 that was just added apparently this morning,
Yeah, something like
from
that.
what we're able to tell. So I had none of these films on my radar, but I did some cursory looking at each of them, and it strikes me that, there's no nice way to say it. The American Dream and Other Fairy Tales and Phoenix Rising are both PR documentaries. They're total public image attempts. One is Evan Rachel Wood, revamping her public image. The other is that Disney descendant, making her seem like some bastion of hope against a conglomerate. So neither of those interest me at all because they're just self-serving pieces of filmmaking. What I'm intrigued by is Last Flight Home from Andi Timoner, which is just the story of a guy who founded an airline, and then decided to medically terminate his life, and the 15-day waiting period between those choices and when the event actually occurred, and how the family reacted to that. I think that sounds like a very interesting found footage, edited style documentary that is not going to be self-serving in its existence like the other titles that are new releases here.
But isn't it fun to say that a Disney movie is at Sundance?
In no way is it fun.
But that reaction was, and that's exactly why I did that. I'm gonna
cue the gif of "listen here, you little shit."
I love it. I'm gonna agree with a lot of what you said. I mean, I personally don't mind self-serving entertainment periodically. It's whatever.
Thomas is pro propaganda.
I don't know. I'm pro entertainment, I guess. Like, entertain me. But I will agree, as far as like hard hitting and intriguing documentaries, I would agree that Last Flight Home is probably going to be the more compelling one of the 3. So I will probably watch The American Dream. I don't know how much I'm going to get from it because
you disgust me.
I know. I love doing this. Love doing this. But yeah, anyway, just those are the special screenings, and you know, 2 of them were just announced like a couple days ago. So yeah, get to consider that. And then last but certainly not least at all, this is the biggest category to discuss.
Yeah, I don't even I've just been looking at this and like there's I don't know. Should I just pick half?
You just pick half. We might end up talking about half. Let's move on to the premieres category. And there is a lot in this category, too much that to talk about. And this is why it's really fun to say, okay, pick one that you think is good, that you have as your most anticipated.
And that just is not a thing, because I'm not really that excited about any of these, but I'm curious about all of them, or about all the ones that I'm considering for my most intrigued by, right? Like there's not one that's more intriguing to me than any other, right? It's like, Am I Okay is Dakota Johnson, Sonoya Mizuno, directed by Tig Notaro. Like I'm very curious about that. But then Emily the Criminal with Aubrey Plaza, I'm very curious about. Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul. That sounds silly. Very curious about that. Lucy and Desi, very curious. The Princess, very curious. Sharp Stick, very curious. Resurrection, very curious. We Need to Talk About Cosby, very curious. But most anticipated? Oh boy. I will say you're really not helping me out.
I know
that qualifier.
This is the fun part of this particular video.
This is definitely where I have the most tickets.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. I would agree. Most of my tickets fall into this premieres category, and it will be fascinating to see which of these turn out to be great films. And I think that there's a lot of potential for a lot of really great filmmaking and storytelling.
Yeah, that's a good direction for us to go. Which one do you think is going to actually end up being a great film?
Now you're throwing a wrench in my plan, because I had my most anticipated. I agree with you. It's very hard to narrow it down, but I know I have one that
and I don't, so I'm pivoting.
I will tell you my one after we do this little detour thing you just installed. Which one has the opportunity to be a great film? I would have maybe said Final Cut. They didn't.
I disagree on principle, just because we've already both seen that movie. It's called One Cut of the Dead, and they don't need to remake it.
That's fair. No, but for real, I think that
yeah.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I don't know. I'm having the same problem now. I don't know. Okay, now you have to choose. Which one has the opportunity to be? Okay, I'm gonna say The Princess.
You think The Princess is gonna be? So you're going documentary.
I'm going documentary.
I don't think that either. So I've got 2 documentaries that I'm excited for. I don't think either one is going to be truly great. Lucy and Desi and The Princess.
Yeah.
True greatness is like, it's an accident alchemy type of a thing. And I think that Am I Okay has the most accidental magic that could occur with it. But I also sneakingly suspect that Resurrection might just be harrowing enough that it ends up being great, because Rebecca Hall can just dominate a screen when you let her, i.e. The Night House. And if you just let her control this film from the sophomore filmmaker, I don't know. I think one of those two, I'm going to go with Resurrection or Am I Okay, have the best chance to be truly great, I think.
Yeah. And I'm actually I'm locking it in for the record. This is official. If I'm choosing to, I'm either gonna choose The Princess or Lucy and Desi. Going with the documentaries. I think at least one of those are gonna be. I mean, I guess I'm just going off of my experience of the fact that last year my favorite film of the year was a documentary from Sundance. So I'm just working off of what I know. But I will say that my most anticipated film, and the one that I have actually been I guess most excited about seeing for some reason that I can't explain really is When You Finish Saving the World. I don't know why I'm so drawn to Jesse Eisenberg projects, but I think that I think that he takes risks. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But I think that his career is so vast that I'm always willing to try whatever he's got going on, whether it's acting, whether it's writing, and now this is his directorial debut. That is the one that I highlighted as my most anticipated for those reasons.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, he's got a good relationship with Richard Ayoade, who does not make films very often or at all anymore, but I think was one of the most promising young directors back in the mid 2010s. And if he, learned anything from making films with Richard and with Zack Snyder and all those guys, then, this could be very promising, or it could just be a middling, festival movie, which is what I'm leaning more towards. I'm happy to be wrong. I really hope I'm wrong.
We will see. I mean, I think, what's the runtime? It's a relatively short runtime, right?
I'm not too certain. Let me pull that up. We got 88 minutes.
88 minutes.
So that is a nice quick jaunt through. And he's leaning on Julianne Moore, which, that's certainly a strength. We'll see.
I actually didn't realize this before, but it's with A24. That's promising.
Oh, did they acquire it or develop it?
It's listed under the credits as an A24 film.
Maybe they co-developed it then. Yeah, that's I would have a lot more hope about that if I didn't just go through 2021 where there were multiple A24 movies that I didn't like or hated. So we will see.
Yes, we will. Yeah. I guess just to kind of wrap this category up, there's so much in here, so much to see, and so much potential. I'm very interested in seeing a lot of these films. Honk for Jesus Save Your Soul is another one that stands out to me.
It's just hard to pick a comedy.
Right. It is. Comedy is very difficult to do. I think the comedy that stood out to me last year was On the Count of Three, and I liked it a lot, but I mean, it hasn't been distributed yet, has it?
It comes out at the end of this month, or it comes out before March. I just had it in my calendar. Come up for something. It's a good film, and I really liked it, but I don't know how much like mainstream appeal it'll have. And anyway, but yeah, that kind of like the comedies are very, very tough to pull off. So yeah, it's I mean, with Regina Hall and Sterling K. Brown, like that, if you're gonna succeed, that's a really good framework to do it on. It's another directorial debut, which I love to cram in here. I'm just not super confident with the images that I've seen that it's not gonna just be like a low grade Eyes of, or what was it, the Tammy Faye movie? What was the full title of that?
Eyes of Tammy Faye. Yeah, and I did not.
Is that? I thought that was what the documentary was called.
Do
I have it?
Through the Eyes of Tammy Faye, or something like that.
Yeah, the Showalter one is the one I'm talking about, because there's a documentary. Oh no, they're both called The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Okay, so there's originally the documentary in 2000, and then the film that Showalter made is the same title, and it's just the images, like the press stills that I've seen, like it's kind of got that gaudy look to it, and we'll see. I'm not gonna over hope for it.
yeah, that's fair. And I think the last thing I want to say about this category is I really hope that we need to talk about Cosby gets an award, because I don't have time for this movie. I really do not have time for this until awards day. So if we could just like make an award for that one to win so that I can see it.
Yes. That's one of the ones that I kind of built my schedule around. Just because I believe it's a directorial debut as well for Bell. I can't remember his full name. It's like F. Camus Bell or something like that. But yeah, this is 240 minutes. It's, I think, going to be distributed as a limited series. It's already got distribution. But this is one that I just wanted to make sure that I got in during the festival and built my whole schedule around, essentially.
I think who distributes this? Was it Netflix or was it
I thought it was maybe Showtime.
Yeah. This I really want to see it, but it is part of the episodic lineup, and so the two episodic selections being this and Genius, the is that what it is from Kanye West?
Yes, and it's only like the first part of the trilogy.
See, now that bothers me. Don't screen something unless you're screening the whole thing. Like, just think about going to a film festival, going to see A Hidden Life, and they only screen the first hour and a half of it. Like, what?
Yeah, I think that comparing Terrence Malick to Kanye might be a little bit.
I'm not comparing. Hold on. Okay, let's clarify. I'm not comparing the artists. I'm just long movie to episodic release. Like, I hate that idea. If I'm gonna watch, I don't want to stop halfway through and then have to give my opinion on what I thought about it, because I think conclusions are everything. How you end a story is so important. There are so many times where I hated a movie until like the last 5 minutes, and then I was like, oh,
Memoria.
yes, Memoria is exactly that. Yes. Yeah, so anyway, I'm not really on board with that, but
so are you ready for me to throw a few wrenches your way? You forgot a few categories, especially category that you're uniquely qualified for. Yep. So why don't you tell us what your most anticipated title or titles are in New Frontier?
You know what, New Frontier. So I haven't had a chance to look through all of the.
Don't lie. We both know you're most anticipating Flat Earth, because you're a big supporter of a flat Earth.
Please don't get me in trouble. Don't cancel me here. For the record, I do not believe in a flat Earth, but
you run hills and you tell me that they're flat all the time. There's some pretty interesting stuff. This is not a ceremony. If I had VR, that's one that I would be most intrigued by.
So I actually, I think of the VR category, that is what got me interested in participating in VR. Is This Is Not a Ceremony, which I actually have had the chance to experience now, and I'm very interested in how people respond to that. It's produced by the National Film Board of Canada, who we've covered films from them in the past here on ForReel, and you've talked with them as well. There's a big objective to promote Native American stories, or I'm sorry, Indigenous stories, and I think that this project it obviously takes square aim at that goal of putting very traumatic Indigenous stories out there that aren't told or that are buried, and telling these very these compelling situations that clearly identify blatant racism and blatant disregard for Indigenous people. And it's a heavy experience listening to these stories, but it's also so something that I think people should see.
Yeah, the other one that caught my eye is Dagnosha, which is an immersive documentary, apparently, about being in like a military internet addiction camp. It just sounds super interesting to me, depending on like the level of cacophony and visual stimulation or lack thereof, and the monotony that they'd be able to achieve. So there's some really interesting projects. I'm jealous of your experience.
I don't know, maybe I'll have to find the time to come down.
I will happily allow you to come down and drink my alcohol, then kick you out and keep your headset.
You cannot do that. I will be taking that with me. That costs a pretty penny.
And then let's hop over to another section that is not films. Let's go over to the indie series program. Have you spent any time looking at these 6 different entries?
I have not. So I'm gonna actively and intensely listen to what you have to say about them.
All right. Well, in general, when we come across indie television, we're normally seeing pilot episodes for series that have not been picked up and are kind of being shopped. And, they're entered into these film festivals to try to drum up buzz or see what type of reactions will be made, maybe get acquired by Netflix, a Hulu, a Tubi. It really depends on the budget of how these different series are made. But there's a few different world spanning, like there's My Trip to Spain, which is obviously a Spanish series, The Dark Heart, which is Swedish and a little bit more dark and mythological. Culture Beat seems really interesting to me. It's according to them, it's a high culture lowbrow lens look at culture, and it's kind of like the Ollie G show, if you remember that, or Anthony Bourdain's No Reservations. That's something that I would be intrigued by. It sounds more like a YouTube series to me, honestly, but it sounds like something I could be convinced to watch. And then there's Bring on the Dancing Horses, which stars Kate Bosworth. It's a I think it's just the opening episode of a potential series in which she's a mercenary or a gun for hire and goes around killing people, taking their confessions. So a few different interesting little limited series here, independently created and being shopped at the Sundance market.
All right. Cool. Did we cover everything? Is that everything?
I think we've touched everything that I know to address, but we haven't touched everything, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's true.
One other random plug that I will give is, as I was going through the short films here, I noticed that they have the original Destin Daniel Cretton short term 12.
Interesting.
That had Lakeith Stanfield in it. And like no one else that anybody knows. And this short was made in 2009, well before the feature film Short Term 12. So I would encourage people that are attending the festival to maybe go take a look back at that. It's interesting to go see what someone like Lakeith was doing as far as the quality of his work. What would that be? 13 years ago now. That's kind of a cool feature about these anniversary shorts. Even though there's too much to watch, it is neat that you can go do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Well, I think we've been at this long enough. Let's go ahead and wrap up. Taylor, when all this Sundance coverage hits, where can people find it on your site?
At drinkinthemovies.com. And that's where everything lives.
Nice. Do you have any social media that people can connect with?
Yeah. We're on all of them, I think. If you just go to drinkinthemovies.com, though, there's a whole page that'll tell you where to follow us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Letterboxd and all that jazz. Yeah. How about you? Do you have social media?
No, social media. Who does that? Actually, I have been thinking about starting a TikTok, but yeah, we'll see about that. Anyway, you can find ForReel movie news and reviews on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Movies for Real. You can find this coverage on our website, moviesforreel.net. Of course, For Real spelled FORREEL. And you can also connect with me personally on Twitter and Instagram at being TSJ. And yeah, all this coverage is going to start hitting on January 20th, and excited to share what we watched and how everything's going. And we'll be doing this again too, mid-festival and after the festival, so we get to have a lot more discussions and actually draw some conclusions on all this speculation we just did.
Yes, and if you just want to talk shit to Thomas, you can just tell him how bad Flea is, and he'll really appreciate and react strongly to that.
No. You didn't like Flea. Do not talk to me. Okay.
I think it's fine, and I voted for it for Best Animated Film of the Year, sir.
That deserves a
So
clapping
take
emoji.
that.
That deserves a clapping emoji.
But yeah, I'm excited to sync up with you after we have our first batch of viewings and try to figure out what the heck just happened.
Yes. Yeah. Looking forward to it. And we'll try to rope Beaumont into this as well at some point. I'm sure he'll have a lot of opinions to share as well.
Yeah.
So
I look forward to a more thorough conversation that's many pointed.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. Well, thank you again for joining me on this video, and for everyone listening, until next time, keep it for real.